It can happen in an instant and without warning. A moment that transcends just being a moment and becomes so much more. In late October of 1988, well into the Southern California night, with a crack of a bat meeting a ball, one of those transcendent snapshots in time took place. All thanks to a man whose body was so badly beaten up that he could barely walk without a limp. With that pained swing, he conjured a defining moment that may have altered the outcome of a series. In this episode of More Than Just a Score, we take a look back at the 1988 World Series between the NL champion Dodgers and the American League champs, the Oakland A's. We also look at the night that Kirk Gibson hobbled his way into history. Before we get to that fall classic, let's look at how both teams ended up on an October collision course. April in Oakland felt like it had a pulsing rhythm of anticipation. The A's didn't so much arrive for the 1988 season as they burst into it. The bats boomed and possessed a power that made every pitch a threat. Manager Tony La Russa's club played with the certainty of a team that believed that the regular season was a stage to own and a prelude to a much bigger show. When McGwire and José Canseco dug in back-to-back at the plate at the Coliseum, the crowd swirled with anticipation because just one swing could flip an inning from routine to a roar. The threat of danger was ever present for opponents throughout the early portion of the season. Oakland piled on pressure the way that great teams do. They worked pitchers with long at-bats, made hard contact, and base runners were a constant threat to steal bases. Carney Lansford kept rallies alive with line drives and stubborn plate appearances. José Canseco smashed a league-leading 42 home runs and also led the way with 124 RBI. The Athletics were more than just the Bash Brothers. Rickey Henderson terrorized pitchers and catchers with his prowess for stealing bases. And the Athletics could pitch too. Dave Stewart led the starters with 21 wins and helped the staff to an American League best ERA of 3.44. And when games were tight in the late innings, well, the A's had a closer who could cut the tension with a knife. Dennis Eckersley was reborn in the bullpen, and he delivered quick innings and racked up the saves. If Oakland played like a band, Eckersley was the final chord. Down the coast, the Dodgers were building 1988 in a different key. The roster had stars, but the identity was steadier. Defense, pitching, and runs earned the hard way. Where the A's put on an air show with the bats, the Dodgers didn't wow anyone at the plate, finishing outside the top 5 in the National League in every offensive statistical category, except for batting average. At Dodger Stadium, evenings drifted in with the Marine layer, and the sense that 3 runs might just be enough if you were able to protect them. Manager Tommy Lasorda's club played with the discipline of a team raised on fundamentals. Take the extra base, make the smart throw, and don't give away any extra outs. The spine for LA on their way to the postseason was the pitching staff. Ace Orel Hershiser dominated in nearly every statistical category en route to claiming the NL Cy Young Award. He didn't just win games, he mowed batters down and rewrote the record book in the process. Hershiser went on a run of 59 consecutive scoreless innings to break the previous record held by former Dodger Don Drysdale. Hershiser set the benchmark in style on the final day of the regular season.
Hershiser ready, and the 1-2 pitch is swung on, a fly ball to right. Gonzalez backs up, he's got it, and Hershiser has the record.
He tossed 116 pitches in 10 shutout innings against the Padres in San Diego. Oakland barreled through the American League with the confidence of a team that could win in a variety of ways. They could outslug you, they could outlast you, or could suffocate you with a lights-out closer. The A's kept stacking wins until the standings looked less like a race and more like a march toward a coronation. They finished the regular season with 104 wins, running away with the AL West title and carrying the swagger of a powerhouse. Los Angeles, on the other hand, just kept the chasing National League West at bay until pulling away from the pack in late August. The Dodgers didn't have Oakland's nightly fireworks, but they kept answering challenges with poise. A quiet game could turn on a single mistake, and their lineup, although never flashy, was always dangerous. September, as it usually does, makes every out feel bigger. In Oakland, though, the wins kept coming, and the atmosphere around the team suggested that the real drama was being saved for October. The A's played with a loose confidence that only a big lead can buy. The lineup attacked early, the defense held steady, and then the bullpen finished the script. Eckersley's appearances felt like punctuation, brief, sharp, and final. In Los Angeles, the pennant chase stayed close enough to keep everyone leaning in. The Dodgers won on nights when the bats were quiet by turning routine defense into art and Hershiser's starts into events. Well, they could also win on nights when the bats would wake up just enough to cash in the one opening the other team would offer. The division didn't fall into their lap. It was pried loose, game by game, until the Dodgers ended the season atop the NL West with 94 wins. When the final regular season out settled into gloves, both teams stood ready, and unmistakably themselves. Oakland had shown how force can overwhelm. Swagger was backed by production with a lineup that punished and a closer who slammed doors without flinching. Los Angeles, though, had shown how discipline can endure, pitching that squeezed games tight and defense that refused to crack, along with a right-hander whose summer turned consistency into myth. The 1988 regular season didn't just set the table for the postseason, it introduced two different ways of winning, marching toward October on parallel tracks, each convinced their style was the one that would last. October baseball arrived with tension already ratcheting up. In Oakland, the Athletics carried the weight of expectation into the American League Championship Series against the Boston Red Sox. They had dominated throughout the regular season, a powerhouse built on thunder and precision. Now the Oakland Coliseum felt like a proving ground. The question wasn't whether the A's were good enough, it was whether they could translate the regular season dominance into October victories. The series opened up in Beantown, with Oakland seizing the early energy. The lineup attacked early, forcing Boston's pitchers into mistakes. José Canseco opening the scoring in the series with a bang in the fourth inning of Game 1.
Left field, that ball going back, and the ball is out of here. Canseco over the 37-foot wall. It's 60 feet high to the top of the net, and Jose has driven in the first run of the American League Championship Series.
Canseco turned on a Bruce Hurst offering and launched it over the Green Monster at Fenway Park. The A's kept the pressure on, but the Red Sox would tie things up in the bottom of the seventh. But in the top of the eighth inning, Oakland would claw the lead back thanks to a Carney Lansford double, and then Dave Henderson with the RBI single. Dennis Eckersley would come on and close things out on the mound for Oakland, with the A's drawing first blood in the series with a 2-1 win. Game 2 looked a lot like Game 1, with no scoring through the first 5 innings before the Bo Sox jumped in front in the 6th. But the A's remained relentless, battling back and eventually taking the lead for good on the back of a trio of ninth-inning singles to score what would turn out to be the game-winning run in the top of the ninth. Eckersley, again, like he had done so many times, shut the door on any comeback bid in the bottom half of the inning. The A's were heading home with the 2-0 series lead with a 4-3 victory. As the series shifted, Oakland's depth began to show. The A's didn't need one hero. They needed only to play their game. The series now leaned decisively in their direction, and by the time the final outs were recorded, Oakland had dispatched Boston in 4 straight games, claiming the American League pennant with the same confidence that had defined their season. The National League Championship Series told a different story. While Oakland was sweeping their way into the Fall Classic, the Los Angeles Dodgers faced the New York Mets, going toe-to-toe in a seesaw back-and-forth 7-game battle. New York was widely seen as the class of the league, and Los Angeles was the underdog that leaned heavily on pitching, defense, and resilience. The Mets lineup was relentless, capable of breaking a game open in a single inning, but Los Angeles answered with discipline and precision. Orel Hershiser, already carrying the aura of his historic regular season, dominated in his 4 appearances en route to winning the NLCS MVP.
This was the biggest game of our life, and this guy, Bulldog Hershiser, what a tremendous victory.
Hershiser did it all. His starts slowed the Mets' momentum, turning dangerous innings into quiet ones, and then he would come on in the 12th inning to close out a Game 4 win for LA, just one day after pitching 7 innings in Game 3. The games felt tight and heavy, each inning carrying consequence, each mistake magnified. When the Dodgers found offense, it often came in bursts, timely hits that arrived just before the game could slip away. Kirk Gibson's presence also looming large for the Dodgers, even limited by injury, his leadership echoing throughout the dugout. The series stretched the full 7 games with a battle that refused to be settled, momentum shifting like a tide, each team trading blows through the first 6 games. But Game 7 brought everything into focus, the Dodgers leaning once more on their strengths. Hershiser delivering again, steady and unshakable. Having been staked to a large lead early, he cruised to a complete game shutout. Game 7 of the NLCS didn't live up to the hype and drama of the rest of the series, with Los Angeles rolling into the World Series with a 6-0 win. The stage was now set. Oakland stood as the embodiment of power and expectation. Los Angeles offering its counterpoint, a team forged through pressure, 2 paths both leading to the same destination, an inevitable collision in the Fall Classic. The 1988 World Series arrived, carrying a script that already seemed written. The Oakland Athletics came in as baseball's great machine, a club built on power, swagger, and the unmistakable sense that its time had come. They stormed through the regular season, rolled past Boston in the American League Championship Series, Mark McGwire and José Canseco giving the lineup its thunder, Dave Stewart fronting the rotation with force, while Dennis Eckersley finished the game with clean efficiency. The A's were younger, deeper, louder, and to most of the baseball world, better. The LA Dodgers came in a different light. They were not dismissed, but they were definitely doubted. Their path through the National League had been harder, tighter, and more of a grind. Their victories were less explosive, but more stubborn. They'd survived the Mets in 7 bruising games, and now carried a roster defined by grit more than glamour, which is the hallmark of the city in which they call home. Yet they also had starter Orel Hershiser, whose scoreless innings streak during the regular season had become legend, and a clubhouse that had learned how to live inside pressure without flinching under it. Game 1 at Chavez Ravine felt like confirmation that the expected script might hold. A well-rested Oakland ace Dave Stewart got the start on the hill for the A's in the opener, and he might have shown a little bit of early rust, giving up a pair of runs in the bottom of the first inning. The LA lead, though, quickly disappeared in the top of the second, with the Dodgers needing Hershiser in Game 7 of the NLCS. That meant that he was unavailable for Game 1, which forced Dodgers skipper Tommy Lasorda to give the ball to rookie Tim Belcher. While he made it through the first inning unscathed, he struggled in the second, giving up 4 runs, and it looked like a march to a coronation was underway for the A's. The LA bullpen, though, came on and put together a masterful display in shutting down the potent Oakland attack. The relievers kept Los Angeles within striking distance and set the stage for drama and for a hero to emerge. With Dennis Eckersley, the most dominant closer in the game, coming out of the bullpen for the 9th, the Dodgers needed something extraordinary to happen. Kirk Gibson, Los Angeles' emotional engine, could barely walk, hobbled by injuries to both of his legs. He had not started the game and spent most of the night in the clubhouse receiving treatment. Surely there was no way that he'd play any part in the theater that was developing. Eckersley started the inning, as he so often did, by retiring the first 2 batters that he faced. That brought pinch hitter Mike Davis to the plate, with another pinch hitter, Dave Anderson, standing in the on-deck circle. Eckersley walked Davis to put the tying run on base, and the winning run was coming to the plate. Anderson wasn't known for his power, so it was unlikely that he'd win the game with one swing of the bat. But he never even ended up in the batter's box that night. He was called back to the dugout with a visibly wounded Kirk Gibson straining his way onto the field. Every movement looked painful. Every practice swing raised doubts as to why Lasorda would risk the game and the health of Gibson in a moment in which he might have to run when he could barely even walk. The at-bat dripped with tension because Gibson wouldn't yield. He fought off pitches, refused to chase, and then it happened.
Sachs waiting on deck, but the game right now is at the plate. High fly ball into right field. She is gone! In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened.
Gibson's awkward, pumping trot around the bases became an instant image of defiance. One man staring his own limitations square in the face and overcoming them. In one swing, the Dodgers stole the opener and transformed the emotional barometer of the series. If Game 1 was about the improbable or even impossible, Game 2 provided proof that Los Angeles was more than just a miracle. Hershiser took the mound and did what he had been doing for months. He made baseball feel narrow and suffocating for the other side. Oakland had power enough to erase any deficit, but Hershiser denied the Athletics any kind of rhythm. He changed speeds, moved the ball around, and kept big hitters from ever feeling settled in the batter's box. The Dodgers also exploded for 5 runs in the third, and that would prove to be more than enough. Hershiser struck out 8 on the way to a complete game shutout in the 6-0 win that put Los Angeles firmly in the driver's seat as the series shifted north to the Bay Area. The Athletics found some answers, though, in a Game 3 pushback. Their lineup attacked, and the pitching staff worked with more freedom, but the game remained on a knife's edge late into the ballgame, the Coliseum crowd feeding every inning with urgency. Just as LA had done in the series opener, the A's got a walk-off home run in the bottom of the 9th off the bat of Mark McGwire that sent the Oakland faithful into a frenzy and got the Athletics back in the series with the 2-1 win. Game 4 was tense and tight, the kind of game that asked for patience instead of force. Los Angeles answered with exactly that. They pieced together offense where they could, trusted their pitching, and kept dragging Oakland into innings where one mistake meant everything. LA moved to within a win of tasting championship champagne with the 4-3 win and the knowledge that their ace would be starting on the mound in Game 5. Orel Hershiser delivered in the biggest game of the season in the way that he had all year long. He sliced through the Athletics lineup with the same quiet authority that had defined his season. Oakland threatened because a lineup that talented always would, but the threats were not enough. Hershiser kept flipping danger into outs. The Dodgers' offense also did what it needed to do. They hadn't been built to bludgeon anyone, but they picked up timely hits and kept runners moving around the bases. Los Angeles kept finding ways to take advantage. The Dodgers scored a pair of runs in the 1st and 4th innings, and with Hershiser on the hill, they slowly marched to the inevitable.
3-2 to Tony Phillips. Lansford down the line from third with 2 out. Steinbach on deck. 5-2 Dodgers in the 9th. Got him. They've done it. Like the 1969 Mets, it's the impossible dream revisited.
What had seemed just days earlier to be improbable or even impossible was now a reality. The Dodgers were champions. The 1988 World Series endures because it was more than just an upset. It was a collision between baseball ideas. Oakland representing power and talent that seemed unbeatable. The Dodgers, though, were more about resilience, timing, and belief. Gibson gave the series its immortal image, but the championship belonged just as much to Hershiser, whose brilliance carried Los Angeles from the regular season into October glory. That is why 1988 still glows. It was not simply that the Dodgers won, it was the way they won, limping, grinding, surviving, and then somehow standing tallest of them all. The final out of the 1988 World Series didn't just end a game and a season, it split 2 futures. In Los Angeles, the Dodgers stepped into celebration with a sense of disbelief. They hadn't just won. They had rewritten what was supposed to happen. Kirk Gibson's impossible swing becoming legend overnight, replayed endlessly as proof that October could belong to anyone willing to seize it. Orel Hershiser, already the quiet force behind their run, was now the undeniable centerpiece of a championship season. But the magic couldn't be sustained. The glory quickly faded, with the Dodgers finishing under 500 and well out of the playoffs the next season. They wouldn't return to the postseason until 1995, and it would be close to 30 years before making it back to the Fall Classic in 2017, before winning it again in 2020. In Oakland, the aftermath felt more like a call to action. The Athletics had entered the season and the World Series as favorites. They were a team built to dominate, so that loss left a lingering bitter aftertaste that comes with unfinished business. Their power hadn't disappeared, their confidence hadn't been broken, but the result certainly forced reflection. The A's attacked the 1989 season, winning 99 games and reclaiming the American League West crown. They disposed of the Toronto Blue Jays in the ALCS in 5 games to set up the Bay Area World Series that they would dominate and win over the San Francisco Giants. That series is best remembered for being interrupted by a massive earthquake in the moments leading up to Game 3 at Candlestick Park that forced the series to be put on pause for 10 days. The Athletics' dominance, though, continued for a few more years, including a trip back to the World Series in 1990, but they would never taste glory again before the team's departure from Oakland at the end of the 2024 season. If you enjoyed this story and would like to hear more like it, do us a favor and hit the like and subscribe buttons. Also, feel free to drop any story ideas that you'd like to hear in the comments section, and join us next time when we look for more than just a score.